I'm Jeannie Yerman with Reuters at the New York Stock Exchange at the Index Universe Inside Commodities Conference, and I'm currently joined by Marc Faber. He is the publisher and the editor of the Doom, Boom, and Gloom.
Boom, and Doom.
And that title has not changed, nor has his outlook. And on that note, just this afternoon, the European Banking Authority actually revised upwards the amount of money that 12 different countries' banks are going to have to come up with by June to restore confidence in the banking system. Now they're saying it should be around 153 billion, up from October.
Yes.
Any surprise there?
No, I think they will need much more than 153 billion eventually to restore confidence, because basically the banks are in a very bad shape, and the reason is they're in a bad shape is that they're so leveraged still. And I mean, by the way, also the American banks are leveraged through the derivatives markets and so forth. So I'm very bearish, but I'm not that bearish on equities for the simple reason that if the S&P drops 10, 15% here, and if in Europe the bond market drops again, they're going to print money. There's no question about QE3 will come in one form or the other, and in Europe also. They'll monetize.
All right, now we are just a day away from the culmination of all these meetings in Europe. Everybody's waiting on edge to find out what's going to happen at the end of Friday. What is your sense?
Well, I'm not a politician, I wouldn't know, but they'll make some kind of a nice announcement to boost confidence, and they will just postpone the real solutions to the problem. They'll address some of the symptoms. But I'd just like to remind you that when the EU was formed in the Maastricht Treaty, it was stated that no country should have a fiscal deficit of more than 3% and the debt of more than 60% of GDP. And nobody kept that promise. The first one actually to violate was apparently Germany. I can't confirm that, but this apparently happened. And when you look at what happened subsequently, where countries had this huge expansion in debt to GDP, you have to ask yourself, these bureaucrats, what did they do the whole day? Sleep or eat or play golf? But certainly they didn't look at their household.
Okay, so it's sounding like you think that there's going to be a lot of can kicking, even if they have to hurl it, as somebody put it today.
I mean, it's the same here in the US. They will not address the fundamental problems. They'll address the symptoms with fiscal deficits and money printing. And like Larry Summers, he recently said, the paradox of the situation is that we got into trouble because of too much borrowings and spending, but we have to spend more and borrow more to get out of it. I disagree, but this is the view of the Keynesian economists.
Okay, now you think there's a limit, though, to these kinds of actions?
Yeah, I think that the limit has been reached, in the sense you can increase debt, but it doesn't increase prosperity or economic growth, because there's a point where the excessive debt growth doesn't stimulate economic activity anymore. What it does, it creates bubbles in different sectors of the economy, and we have a global economy, so the bubble may not even happen in the US. If you look at the monetary policy of Mr. Bernanke, were designed to lift the housing market. The only asset that didn't go up since 2008 is housing. Paintings went up, Warhol paintings went up in value, the value of foreign currencies went up, emerging economy stock markets went up, real estate in Singapore, Hong Kong, Vancouver went up, but it didn't go up in the US, except for Aspen and prestigious properties on Park Avenue and Madison in New York.
Okay, now very specifically though, you said something pretty provocative today, which is that you expect that there's going to be a global collapse, ultimately.
Yes.
And that being said, do you have any sense for the timing on that?
Yes. When you make a prediction, never put a prediction about time. And I don't know when it will happen, but I'm convinced that one day the whole derivatives market will cease to exist, will become zero. And when it happens, I don't know, but you can postpone the problems with monetary measures for a long time, but you can't solve them.
So
if there is war in the world, do you think that derivatives will be settled? Of course not. Greece should have defaulted, then it would have sent the message that not all derivatives are equal. Because
Okay.
it depends on the counterparty.
So given your very bearish outlook, how are you preparing for this inevitable?
Well, as I said, I mean, we don't know how the world will look in 5 years' time. I'm ultra bearish, and I think most people will be lucky if they still have 50% of their money in 5 years' time. So, but you have to have diversification, some real estate in the countryside, and some gold and some equities, because if you think it through, say Germany 1900 to today, we had World War I, we had hyperinflation, World War II, cash holders and bond holders, they lost everything 3 times. But if you owned equities, you'll be okay. With real estate, it depended where you owned it. If you owned it in Eastern Germany, you lost it also. So, but in equities in general, you will not lose all of it. It may not be a good investment, but you will not lose it all. I mean, unless you put it all in one company, it goes bankrupt.
Okay,
And
so
that's why I would also own some gold. But as I said, I'm worried that one day governments will take it away.
how about the flip side? What would you avoid? What are investments you would avoid in the next year?
Basically
2 years?
government bonds. And I think that cash is only useful for a brief period of time.
And that was Mr. Faber of the Doom, Boom, and Gloom Report.